Hey guys, welcome to another Java knowledge sharing session. We have already seen what are constructors and how to use them. If you have not watched that video and want to know the basic details, please watch my previous video. Link will be there in the description. Today we will see what is a super keyword and how we can use it in context of constructors and inheritance. What is constructor overloading, constructor chaining and copy constructor. So without any further delay, let's start. The super keyword refers to the objects of immediate parent class. The main use of super keyword is to access the data members of parent class, or if you want to call explicitly the constructors of parent class, and in case we want to access some method of the parent class when child class has overridden that method. In case of constructors, whenever a child class constructor gets invoked, it implicitly invokes the constructor of parent class. So in our example, we have this parent class. It is having only constructor defined inside that, which is only having one print line statement. And in our child class, we are extending this parent class using the extends keyword. So we will be discussing in more detail in our inheritance related tutorial video regarding the extends keyword. So as of now, just you need to understand that if a child needs to extend some other class, they need to use the extends keyword. So here child is extending the parent. That means child is inheriting all the properties which are available in parent, and it will be able to access them. And in child class, we have its own constructor, which is also having one print line statement. And we have a main method in which we are creating object of child. Now to see the complete workflow of this program, I will run this program in the debug mode. If you are not aware about how to debug a program using Eclipse in Java, do check out my playlist. I already have covered that topic in one of my videos. So here I am adding breakpoints at line number 9, 5, and in parent as well. In the parent constructor, I have added a breakpoint so that when I run the program in debug mode, it should pause the execution at those breakpoints. Now I am just executing the program in debug mode. So here you can see the execution stopped at line number 10. So here I do not want to do step over. I want to step into to see what all methods are being called. So if I go to step into, now you can see from line number 9, child constructor is called. Now if I go again into step into, it has internally called parent constructor. If you see, we have not called or written any super keyword here, but what compiler does is if child is extending parent, and in child constructor, automatically compiler will insert a super call to the parent constructor. That is why the control has been shifted to parent constructor. So now I do not want to go inside this system.out.println, so I will use step over, and you can see on the console parent class constructor is printed. I will do one more step over, and I am back in child class constructor. With one more step over, it has printed child class constructor as well. So after doing one more step over, I'll be back on line number 9. Now an object has been created. It has been returned. You can see on this variable side that it has returned one object. And if I do one more step over, you will be able to see that object here. So this is the object created for child. No, this was when compiler uses the super keyword implicitly. But what if I want to use it? How I can use a super keyword to call a method of a parent class? So for that, I have created one method, say hi, in the parent class, which is just returning one print line to the console, hello from parent class. So now what we will do inside the child constructor itself, what I will do, I will call super dot say hi. So in this way, I will be able to call the methods from parent class using super keyword. So let me just save it and run the program. and you can see hello from parent is also printed. That means we are able to call the say hi method using super keyword from the parent class. Next is constructor overloading. It is a concept of having more than one constructor with the different parameter list in such a way so that each constructor perform a different task. This is somewhat similar to the method overloading as well. That topic we will be covering under polymorphism. In our example, we have three different constructors. First one is noarg or default constructor. Second one and third one are two constructors which are having a single argument but of different type. So we have an ID and a name as instance variables inside this class. First constructor will not perform any action, but it will only initialize these instance variables to their default values. In case of long and string, both the default value will be null. And for other two constructors, in the first one where we are passing long as an argument, it will set the ID as long and one default value to the name. And in the other constructor where we are passing the string as an argument, in that case name will be assigned to the value which is passed and id will be assigned to one constant value. Now let's try to use all these constructors for creation of objects. So in line number 16 you can see I am using the default constructor, and on line number 17 I'm just printing the values of name and id. So I am expecting these values to be null. So let's run the program. So you can see both id and name are displayed as null on the console. Now let's try to create objects using the other two constructors as well. So here I am creating one object 2 in which I am passing a long as an argument. So I am expecting for object 2 ID to be 101 and name to be default name. And for object 3 I am passing a string as an argument. So in this case name will be assigned Aman text zone and ID will be 1. So let's save and run the program. So here you can see in the console the expected output is there. For object 2 101 was assigned because that is the value we have passed as an argument, and a default name which was already there in the constructor itself. And for object 3 the name was assigned to the value which was passed to the constructor. So this is how you can declare any number of constructors for your class depending on your requirements. It just needs to have a different set of arguments that you are passing. Next is constructor chaining. So when one constructor calls to the another constructor of the same class, that is known as constructor chaining. So in our example, by using the concept of constructor overloading, we have created three different constructors, and you can see one call using this keyword is made in two of the constructors. So this is you can relate to the super keyword as well, but the difference is super keyword represents the call to the parent class, but in case of this, that will be the call to the same class object. So here in the first constructor, the default constructor, so we are calling this with by passing one long type value. That means it will call the constructor which will satisfy this signature. That means whichever constructor is accepting the argument of type long, that will be called by passing value 101, which is available here at line number 11. So in this case, again you can see the first statement is a this call. So in this specific line, they are passing the id which was passed from the previous constructor and one string as well. So now what it will do, it will look for a constructor which is having a signature that accept first argument as a long and second argument as a string. The third constructor will satisfy that condition, and in the third constructor you can see the instance variable id and name are assigned to the values which are being passed through this chaining of constructor, and in the end it will return the object of that class. So to understand the flow better, let's try to run this program in the debug mode itself. So I have already added the breakpoints on all the constructors. Now I will just execute this program in the debug mode. Let me switch it to the debug perspective. So now currently we are at line number 21. Let's go to the step over, as I have already added breakpoints. If I have not added breakpoints, then I need to use step into. Okay, so let's go to step over. So you can see from line 21 the main default constructor was called, and it is currently at line number 8. So if I do step over again, it has gone to the control has gone to the other constructor where we are passing one parameter which is of type long. So on the first line, which is 12th number line, again it is calling another constructor with two parameters. So if I do step over, you can see the control has been shifted to the last constructor. So here all those values which were passed as id and name, which is a string. So if I do a step over, the values will be assigned. So this is how the constructor chaining is done. As you can see, an object is already created, and if we expand that object from the variable section, you can see id and 101 value assigned to it, and for the name we have one text zone assigned. Next is a copy constructor. So copy constructor is a constructor which is used to copy the values of one object to another object. So suppose you have a requirement that you want to create another object with all the same detail of some other object, but with a different object in the memory. So in those scenarios, copy constructor will be very helpful. So in our example, we have class copy constructor. It is having two fields which are number and title, and we have one parameterized constructor to set these values. And if you see from line number 13, we have one more constructor which is actually accepting the object of same class. So what it is doing, it is accepting that same class object and trying to access its variable values, its instance variable values, and assigning to the calling object. Let's move to the main function to explain it with more detail. So suppose on the line 19, I am creating a normal object of copy constructor class which is obj1, and I'm passing 101 as long and my book. So using this, the object 1 will be created using the first constructor, the parameterized constructor which was available in the class, and the values of number and title will be set. So before copying it to the other object, let's try to run and see the output of this program. So as you can see in the console, my book, which was the title, and 101, which was the number, that got printed for object 1. And in the end, I have also printed the hash code of the object as well. So that we will be helping us to identifying if the copied constructor is a new constructor or it is pointing to the same memory location. So on line 21, I am creating another object obj2, but this time I am using the other constructor by passing the object1 as parameter value. What it will do, it will take obj1 and all of its values and map them to the values of obj2. So in this way, a new object in the memory will be created. So let's save and run this program. So you can see other detail is same. The name is copied, title is copied, and number is copied. But you can see the last value, which is the hash code that determines whether your object is same or not in the memory. So that is different. In case you can see obj2 and obj1, the value of hash code is different. You might be thinking that this is a very simple operation, like copying the value from one of the object to another object. That can be done using like this. I can do uh, constructor copy obj3, and I can assign the obj1 value to it. So there is a disadvantage to that. This will work, but the problem will be both obj1 and obj3, they will be pointing to the same location in the memory. Now let's print all the detail of obj3 as well, so it will be more clear from the output. So here you can see the hash code of obj1 and obj3 is same. So if I made any change in using any of the object, that change will also be affected in the other object as well, because they are pointing to the object present in the memory with the same location. Let us check this with an example. So in obj3, using obj3, I am just updating the number value to 200 from 101. So let's try to print the number value for both the objects separately. So just for the sake of clarity, I am just commenting out all other system.out.println. So let me execute it. So here you can see I have only updated the number value for object 3, but that change got reflected for object 1 as well. Sorry, it is object 1. So the change got reflected for object 1 as well. So that can create problems because this is not supposed to happen. And this has happened only because we have assigned the value directly using this statement. This only does that, it just shared the memory location of obj1 and assign it to obj3. So in a way you can say only one new reference got created here on line number 23, but in case of line number 22, using copy constructor, we have created a new object itself in the memory, which does not have any dependency on the other objects. Like if I try to change anything in the object 1, those changes will not be reflected for object 2. That's it for this video. If you like the video, please do subscribe and press the bell icon. And in case you have any doubts or have any suggestions, please do comment. Thanks for watching. See you next time.